I'm Dave Greenwood, and this is Overcoming Distractions. If you are an adult with ADHD, a busy professional, an entrepreneur, a high achiever, or just need some strategies to navigate your adult ADHD, you're in the right place. Who am I? I'm an entrepreneur with ADHD and the author of 2 books, Overcoming Distractions and Overcoming Burnout. I coach and mentor people just like you, and together we navigate the ups and downs of adult ADHD. From getting out of our own way to helping people just like you thrive in the workplace. That's what I do. Want more info on working with me? Hit overcomingdistractions.com. Ready? Let's get to today's podcast. All right, all you distracted brains, what is up? It's Dave. We are back with another action-packed episode. I think it's action-packed. At least I got a few value bombs that I think we're gonna chat about briefly today. Hope your week is going well. Hope you've got some wins under your belt this week, and I'm hoping that you've got some time planned to actually kick back and relax a little bit, because we need that, right? So, if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, then you know much of my philosophy, if you want to call it that, about thriving with adult ADHD as a busy professional. And it revolves around clarity. And I don't think we talk about this enough. And I don't think many of us really put it at the forefront of our thinking sometimes, because it really does help us resolve a lot of challenges, I think, as a professional, juggling all types of things in our lives. Here's the deal. Clarity, as far as I'm concerned, is mission critical for those of us with adult ADHD. Whether we're a busy executive, we have a high demanding job, we're a high achiever, entrepreneurs, whatever the case may be. And I really think from top to bottom in our lives, both at home and in our careers, the need for clarity is an absolute must. Another big part of ADHD, as you are probably well aware of, is the difficulty getting started on projects or tasks, again, at work and at home, letting things pile up, and that age-old struggle with procrastination. Now, again, if you've listened, you know that we've done some episodes on procrastination. We're going to continue to do more. But one thing I'm absolutely confident of, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I don't have a PhD, but a huge piece of procrastination is that lack of clarity. When we're not clear on what needs to be done, we don't have the information or the physical items that we need, or maybe we got into a new arrangement, maybe it's a new workplace, we got a new client, the objectives aren't clear, we will be challenged to move forward because our brain is not clear on what needs to be done. And that seems to be a brick wall for many of us. So I also think that when we're not clear on something, then we go to the easier task or project or whatever, or we end up on YouTube watching Taylor Swift videos for 2 hours. So, so I wanted to break apart clarity in this episode and give just a couple quick pointers on each part of clarity that I think we need to focus on. Of course, there's probably more, but these are the ones that I think maybe affect us a lot in the workplace. So I want to break these down, and each part of this can be an essential component. Again, whether you're working in a job in a small or large business, maybe you're, quite frankly, you're in a dysfunctional workplace. I don't know if that sounds familiar to many of you. Uh, but many of you come to me seeking some mentorship and one-on-one help because you actually are in a dysfunctional environment, and that's not your fault. And these come in handy whether you're self-employed or dealing with clients or what have you. So, and guys, maybe we need some clarity on what our spouse is expecting of us, right? So maybe we forgot to take out the trash, pick something up at the grocery store, pay a bill, and not that I would know anything about that, but I know what happens, right? All right, cool. Hey, let's get rocking and rolling here. All right, the first is I think the end all be all when it comes to clarity, and that is clear communication. And this goes both ways, people. We need to get better at communicating with clarity, and we need to seek clarity in all situations. It's just the way our ADHD brain works. Let's use the example of a company meeting or a meeting with a client for all you self-employed folks out there. First thing is to prepare for any type of meeting, even if it's a quick one. And I think one of the best things you can do is just kind of write down what you need out of that meeting or short call or check-in or what have you. The next, you should never leave that meeting until you feel confident you understand the purpose of that meeting, whatever your role is, what the meeting was about, and never leave a meeting unless you know exactly what you need to do. And I might add, laid out expectations for others. So, you know, I'm so guilty of this, but years and years I used to try and wrap up meetings as quickly as possible because I was just crawling out of my skin and I just wanted to get out of there. I wanted to be somewhere else. I'd rather be doing something else. But the wreckage that caused afterwards was stressful. It might take 5 minutes to get what you need, and we really need to remember that. I rushed out of more meetings than I can even remember in my professional life. And I knew if I just stuck around for an extra 5 minutes and asked the right questions, it would have saved me an enormous amount of stress and embarrassment. Also, if you need others to do something, you got to make it absolutely crystal clear. And this may be an odd way of putting it, but I think this is this is kind of where we need to reverse our ADHD. And what I mean by that is getting the things you need from others and giving them the expectations and the deadlines. And just remember this, not everything is our fault when we don't get things done. And I'm absolutely convinced of that. However, it's our responsibility to maybe communicate expectations and needs. And that is a huge part of clarity. We did a podcast a couple years back about trying differently versus trying harder. And I think this is where this is a good scenario. We just might need to change the way we communicate so that we get what we need from others. We're always, we always think of those of us with ADHD of people are chasing us down for things. But if we're going to do our job properly, we could be in a situation where we need to be chasing the things down, the information, the tasks, the whatever it may be. So, and remember this, roles and responsibilities for everybody. So, all right, cool. Next, defining goals and objectives. I don't know about you, but my ADHD brain wants to know why I'm doing something. And in most cases, an end game. So I would think it's important for you to understand why you're doing something. I'm not saying to be like a relentless questioner, why, but you do kind of need to understand the basics of why you're doing something, because I know many of you are probably in a situation in your career, your job, where you're asked to do something by, your boss or a client or whomever, and they're really, you don't see the reason why. So we need to understand that. And again, I'll go back to the meetings. I've worked with more people who get invited to meetings and they sit there and they say, why am I here? And our brain wants to know this. So understand why you're in a particular situation and if you actually need to be there. And as a side note, if you're going to meetings you don't need to be in because you think somebody's going to be mad at you, then that's something for you to put some thought into as well, because I know there's many out there that end up in meetings and they get through it and they're like, I really didn't need to be here. So think about that. All right, next. I really believe that processes help with clarity and clarify things and smooth things out. And, one of our executive functions is planning. And I know a lot of us have challenges with that, but I actually think the ADHD brain is good at creating processes. Now, you might disagree, but I know a lot of people, when we just sit down and we have some quiet time and we map something out, we're actually really good at that. So, but you need to carve out the time. Now, we might not be good at following those processes, but again, we're all different, right? So one thing that has helped me and helped others that I've worked with one-on-one is developing those repeatable processes. It saves you time. It gives you a clear objective if you're doing things over and over again. And I know some of you probably have parts of your job that require you to do things repeatedly. Maybe it's maybe you're a small business owner and you've got to invoice every month, or you've got to create estimates or proposals or what have you. You should have a process for that, because that really does help clear things up. Call it a playbook, if you will, but it really does help you, and it saves a ton of time in the process. So it can be well worth your time, whether you're working for yourself, working in a company, to see where you can build out these processes, which could actually help clarify that kind of multi-step situation you could run into over and over again. I really think that's a big chunk of providing clarity. Next, regular check-ins provide clarity, and in my humble opinion, it's okay to ask for check-ins. That can be with your boss, your manager, other people that you're working with on a project. If you're in business for yourself, that's with your clients. Maybe you have employees. Maybe it's vendors or freelancers or what have you. They don't have to be intrusive. They can just be quick check-ins to make sure that you are on track and that others are on track. They can be in person. It could be a quick email saying, hey, can you just update on where we are on this deadline? It could be a text. But regular check-ins really do help clarify a lot of things. Some of us are kind of afraid to ask for these things, or we procrastinate on these check-ins or these types of communications, but it really does help to create that habit of just checking in regularly with people. And again, you don't have to be annoying. I can't tell you how many people I work with, on that one-on-one situation that, they're in meetings all day. So I don't like unnecessary meetings per se, but a quick check-in helps you achieve that clarity. So don't be afraid to ask a boss or a client for just a quick 5 minutes or so. I think it could change the game. Next, I really think that proper documentation and notes can go a long way in helping you achieve more clarity. And I find one challenge that some people I've worked with have in the past is they don't take enough time to document certain things, or they wait too long to document something, and then our working memory decides that they're not going to play ball, right? Then we have to work twice as hard to reconstruct something in our heads, right? It just, the longer we kind of go away from a meeting or what have you, the more that information fades, and we got to really try hard to reconstruct that. So, as a matter of process, it's a good rule to follow to just pause for a few minutes after a meeting or other interactions and just write down a few notes. Just pause. It could take you less than 5 minutes. Just gather your thoughts, put it down somewhere. I'm a massive fan of dictation. So you can dictate if you're on the run, such maybe you're in the car or you're running to another meeting or what have you. And dictation can run in the form of many things. It could be that voice memo or, a lot of our phones now, it's just like, voice to text. So you could actually dictate a note to yourself, open up a document, open up a note, open up an email. I don't care what it is. Whatever, maybe you have your Todoist or whatever it may be on your phone. Fire it up, dictate it. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about spelling. Just get it out of your head. I really think this is going to compensate for your working memory or lack of working memory. And it's a huge factor in achieving clarity. Try not to rush. Get your thoughts down. Then you can move on. But I think it's a game changer. Another part of clarity is just your access to those proper resources and that support. And if you're going to have clarity, you've got to have access to the resources available to you and even a support system, maybe even an accountability system. I don't like that word, but somewhere, again, check in, what have you. Take, for example, somebody who actually starts a new job or position and doesn't have the resources to be able to do their job effectively. That's a massive lack of clarity, and it's a huge source of stress. Sometimes you're going to have to be proactive in getting what you need, and I've seen this more times than I can remember. Somebody gets dropped into a job, they get thrown in the deep end, and it becomes stressful immediately. They're in panic mode because there's no clarity, right? Or you're self-employed and you're not getting what you need from your clients. And I have to tell you, I've talked about this a little bit before, but running my public relations firm, this was a massive problem. And it borderline drove me nuts. Not to mention how much stress it caused me. Because there were some clients that just thought, they could just hire you and you could go on your way. And it shows in a few clients that actually would ghost me. And I don't know why. They figured that hiring me got something off their plate, and I, to this day, can't understand it. So, but if you're not getting what you need, you are going to have to be proactive. A quick email, a quick text, a quick walk by to your boss's office, whatever it takes. All right. Bottom line, I think, is developing that curious mind. And you know what? I don't even think you need to develop the curious mind. I think one of the built-in features of ADHD is actually having a curious mind. So if you're type, this is you, use this to your advantage. Prepare in advance. Ask the right questions. Seek to understand. Take those notes, whatever it may be. And just be genuinely curious overall and accommodate yourself. So use your curious mind. Maybe go into that quick meeting with your boss, your client, your coworker, your team. Maybe it's permission to ask for, you could record the conversation, what have you. Or, like I said, take notes afterwards. So, but just be curious. There are good parts to ADHD and there are challenging parts to ADHD. Okay? And I think one of the good things is our curious mind. Please use it to your advantage. And understand what a lack of clarity can result in if you haven't figured it out already. Missed deadlines, not doing your job properly, making mistakes, other consequences, and not to mention the stress you're causing yourself and possibly others. Be naturally curious. All right, gang, that's my thing on clarity. We'll talk about this again because it really is a major force in those of us thriving with our adult ADHD. If you need some help achieving clarity and need to work one-on-one with somebody, I would love the chance to help guide you through anything that is challenging you or getting in your way. Just hit overcomingdistractions.com, go to the homepage, hit that button, book a 15-minute Zoom chat with me. Let's see if we're a good fit. I am ready to help. All right, we'll catch you next time.